Hey, what's up, everybody? I wanted to make a little walkthrough here of my track, The Fields Above the Sky. This is a track that I entered into the Virtual Orchestration Competition at the end of last year. It was hosted by the Virtual Orchestration Group on Facebook. And this track ended up winning, which I was very excited about that. And I got a few people asking me if I could do a little walkthrough of that. So, yeah, that's what I'm doing now. So I'm just going to play through it, and then, it's pretty much basic what, I'm talking about in my other videos on my channel. You'll see I'm using the same instruments as before, so if you've seen a lot of those videos, it's not going to be so much new stuff here. But if you haven't, so, yeah, you might learn something. All right, so I'm just going to play through it, and we'll talk later. All right, there it is. This kind of very big, majestic, grandiose kind of track. Can't deny it. It's kind of sounds a bit like John Williams. What are you gonna say? It's, you're listening to somebody like that growing up, it's gonna come through. Also, of course, very inspired by old. Actually, I don't watch those movies a lot, but I love the music from it. From the Golden Age era in Hollywood. So we have that kind of sweeping thing going on also. And of course, we have some hints here in the brass, almost like a nod to David Arnold from that other Stargate little mock-up I did. So let's just kind of check out. I'm just going to see what happens here. I'm going to select a few things and just try to explain what I'm doing or what I'm using and so on. I might actually also, talk a little bit about the composition itself. Because when you're listening to it, it's very, it's filmic. It's not like, you're recording a track that, I might also do, which is more if you do an epic track where you have a typical theme and you have things coming back and it feels more like a song. This, even though you have this theme in the beginning that ties together in the end, it feels more kind of like an unexpected little journey of what might happen, in a film. So let's just see a few things here. As I'm using still, of course, Cinematic Studio Strings. It's still here, also this time doubled with some Hollywood strings. The cello here, I love those two in combination, the Cinematic Studio Strings cello and the Hollywood strings cello. So we have that. We have just the basic setup here. Ignore all these things. It's out of, from past projects or laziness. It's still here. So basically my setup is always, everything's pretty much using the same reverb. That's just how I do it. And so for me, everything easily fits together in the same room because I hear a lot of people talking about how do you get all these instruments, not specifically talking about in my track, but just in general when people talk, how do you get different, libraries to fit together? And I've never really thought about that or had a problem with that because, I just select them and, out of the box the way they are. I do sometimes add EQs because as the track keeps, building and growing, sometimes you feel like, something's going to happen. And this is an old EQ. I'm still sometimes using this also out of laziness sometimes. Otherwise, I used this one, the SSL. But so here we're just cutting away a few things, boosting a little bit what I felt was needed. So if you just listen to the strings, probably they won't even sound that awesome by themselves because, as I said, everything is supposed to sound good in the whole mix. But let's see this. Okay, so, you can kind of hear that I cut away a little bit of the low end and stuff. It's, it needs to cut through a little bit. A lot of things I'm working on is, actually I need to incorporate that guy too. I'm just going to do this. And that is, of course, spending so much time with the mod wheel. So when I record everything, I love doing it live, meaning I'm not clicking it in. There's nothing wrong with doing that, or if you're just, inputting notes, I love to play it. It just gives me that feel. I'm not pretending to be a violinist here or anything. It's just, I don't know. It's just, I have to put myself into this to make it feel good for myself and have fun. And so I spend a lot of time on the things that are exposed. For instance, this line here is very... just that first one. And takes lots of time. I might sit here hours just doing that with these strings. That first thing, I have the cello. They're doubling both of them. This one and the cello's here. And so that's just the same thing. You spend a lot of time with a mod wheel here trying to perfect it. Just because it's also the opening phrase and I really want to make it sound really nice. Because I just love this type of thing where it starts, because it starts pretty simple, right? It's just one note leading into it, and I can't see it, of course. Here it is. Like, this is the start of the track, just a note. And I love that typical going soft and then, just kind of swelling in just really fast. So that's how it starts. We have these reverbs. Valhalla Room, pretty much everything is using that at different levels here on the send. Just a small little room, it's the basic preset, and then just change things here, whatever you want. Not much has changed, just a little bit of less decay here. Or maybe the pre-delay was at a higher level. Doesn't matter, it's just a very basic thing. And then the second one is just its tail reverb I use from Space Designer Logic Zone. It's called Dream Hall. It's in one of the larger spaces, I think. It just gives it this really, really long tail. If I just listen to the... yeah, that's long. It's like almost 4.5 seconds. So I really love drowning my stuff, Not too much where you actually feel like, oh man, it's just, it's too much. Can't hear anything. But enough to make you feel like, whoa, it's in a really nice kind of big space. So we have those things going on here. Of course, when I am writing for samples, you sometimes got to fake a few things because this is not going to be performed live, so you can do all these things where you're doubling. So for instance, this section here, using the, which is also a good thing to do if you have this melody you really want to emphasize, doubling the violins with the cellos here. It's going to be great. So I have that, plus I have the Hollywood cellos just doing an arpeggio back and forth. And so without the melody, it's just these guys. It sounds a little bit half-assed, almost. The violas here are like, they're not super tight. But that's the way I work. The things that are supposed to be really exposed, I will spend so much time on. The other things that are kind of, it's just there for texture in the background. It's okay if there are a couple of things that are a little, not perfect. And what else we have? Oh, so the woodwinds is kind of interesting. Is because I recently bought Berlin woodwinds, which is great. And so these originally right here is just, I don't even remember what I had. Just some basic stuff that sounds really bad. So that's why I'm barely doing anything with the woodwinds in this track. They're just doing some, for instance, now I loaded in Berlin woodwinds with what I had originally written for the other ones. So it's just basic arpeggios there too. Let's see, English horn. They're not even that tight. And that's also from the old woodwinds, and then just adding the new ones here. Same reverbs, a little bit of EQ if you need it, but yeah, this is just nice to have when I'm thinking the way I write. It's like, oh, you have this melody, you have it in cellos, then we have this in the strings here. I said the violas are doing this little arpeggio, so these can just be kind of adding to that flavor. It's always nice, to have that motion, because then if you have this motion, it doesn't feel so weird. If you have, for instance, here I'm using this brass, this is also me just kind of picking something quickly because I'm spending so much time on the other things. So it's just trailer brass, playing chords, really easy, like. It sounds pretty bad by itself when I'm playing it like that with the mod wheel going up, but I probably felt it needed it for the whole context. I don't know why I want them to go up like that, but it works, and that's probably why I did it. So just very, very, very basic. Had this been performed live, probably would have thought, what else can we do with trombones? Or maybe they can just be doing what they're doing. Who knows? Tuba, just basic down here. It has a lot of thick triads there. EQ wise, the same. The two, maybe it was just left there from the old project, and I thought they sounded good already. But it's basically the tail, and then this number 3 is the same Valhalla Room. Actually, this is not Valhalla Room. This is Todd A.O. I've talked about that before. That was online. I felt it was a download for Logic. It was just a free version of the Todd A.O. that was used in Altiverb, I think it was. So I still, on this track, I think, used it on my trumpets. Let's see. No, they're now on the Valhalla Room, on the 4 there. So that's the brass here in the beginning. Then I'm using sample modeling brass. We could just play a little bit through here for the second part. Let's see where we are with the whole part first. Man, that almost has this kind of James Bond quality. I think somebody mentioned that before. It's kind of funny. Almost envisioning him walking on the beach with some woman. So maybe let's just see what the brass is doing here. Yeah, I really like that. You have sample modeling trumpets because you have such great control with them in the dynamics going from the saw. I can really push them up easily here with expression. So I really like that. Those are used, and then with Hollywood, I actually bought them because I really liked, just wanted them for the horns, Hollywood brass. So it's the French horns. And that kind of counter melodies, since we're going into this new part, also we're fattening things up here with Oceania Choir. that's just gigantic, that choir like that. It's like a compressed, like a little small thing, but it's huge. It's friggin' huge. So we have this new line in the string, and that just works nicely, having a little counter melody in the brass, then in the French horn, I mean. Sounds a little bit funny by itself like that, but it works really nicely. Yeah, so basically that's what's going on here. I'm just kind of all over the place right now when I'm talking about, because, just saying things that pop up as we go along here. Brass here like that. We got some nice things here. Those little, hard to explain, but it's like yeah, those little, that's very, what's it called? The Stargate, like I talked about before. And it's just easy to play with sample modeling. So I really, really recommend that library. And then, of course, I'm wrapping them around in the reverb all the way with the Valhalla broom on the send here. If I remove it, it's going to be this super dry. Yeah, it's crazy, right? How it works that way. But I saw that video a very long time ago about those. So, I mean, this library is also perfect if you want to do tighter kind of pop, jazz, or just pop productions. You have a nice solo, or you have a nice actual horn section doing something. I mean, a trumpet section in this case. So, I mean, for a big orchestral thing, no, it sounds hilarious. Now I had a lot of tails still. But, oh, I still had that for, never mind. So yeah, we have that going on. Let's move on to the next part where we are going down a little bit in. So that's how I see it. A big starting swell like this, very big, very romantic. And then where can we move on from this? Ooh, more into a little bit more mysterious. I guess mysterious, we could call it. So in the background we have here, piano is plus 12, meaning I've been lazy and just played an octave down, and then yeah, so that's not quantized, as we can hear. It's just very nice to have. I think it's at CSS, their piano just has this nice kind of, you use the room mic, you push it back, it just gives it this nice atmosphere to have. And then in combination, of course, when I'm playing the melody line and the cello here, that I think sounds really nice. And that's the same, working a lot with the modulation. This I might also have been, tweaking this for hours. Also, of course, coming up with the melody takes time to kind of, for myself, perfecting it until I'm really happy with the breaks and which, shorter here, a faster passage, and as we do when we're crafting something. And on that, we just have some nice little softer strings, almost reminds of the Matrix a little bit. Not entirely perfectly played, as you can hear, but it's more of a texture in the background. I really love textures, so that in combination with the piano is just really nice. It's not even that tight. And then, of course, with that melody. I think I'm just doubling here with these guys. As I said, with the woodwinds not doing so much. They're playing the same thing. Yeah, it's the same melody there. And then, of course, when we're talking about a little bit before about textures, what I mentioned, it's always nice to have, let's see, we just have these. I think these are also from sample modeling solo horns. So this is just part of kind of getting the rhythm going. We already have a little bit of rhythm here. Just subtle French horns doing that. But also about textures is, of course, nice. Using a lot of harp. Transitioning can be used in smaller, parts like this, or in the big parts, of course, when you're transitioning to I always, not always, but I mean, in recent years, been exploring more. It's such a basic thing, just having a glissando as you're transitioning to things. So as this part starts, we just have this little thing. So these are just pre-recorded from the old East West Symphonic Orchestra Gold. So sometimes I can't even find the right number. It's just the scales are already programmed. So, some scales don't really fit, but it's close enough. You can't really tell if there's some wrong notes there. So we're using that. Then, of course, for more texture would be a little glockenspiel. Triangle just for accents here and there. It's just really nice to have together. It gives a little bit more dimension, if you're seeing this on either if you're scoring on paper or seeing it in the DAW here, you can just see, okay, well, in this case, I have these things in the lower register, not lower register, but in the, visually what I'm looking at here, you would have this not, further down. Let's see, where might they be? Somewhere here. Strings low. Yeah, but that's also a different thing. If you see this on score, you might have the strings normally down below, but I like seeing them on top here. So the smaller, the higher it goes. So you could have these little glockenspiel things on top here. So you just kind of see things when you're doing things and you're imagining, what's missing here? And then you can see, oh yeah, we still have some, can I do something here? And with these little textures here, and then it just feels nicer with the whole composition when you're not just focusing on, oh yeah, we got a nice cello melody here, that's enough. No, but what else can you do? What can you add? Smaller things. And so we have lots of those going on. Moving along, if I'm just rambling here. So we have that cello melody first. After that, we're introducing again the violins to come in and take over with the melody. Let's do that. So we have that. Of course, we have the basses, the not spiccato, I don't always call that, but it's pizzicato. It's just nice with so then these come in. Of course, there's a little French horn first. Right, angry French horns. Forgot to mention those before. I use those a lot to double the Hollywood brass. Angry French horns from performance samples, the free stuff from Jasper Blanc. Really, really love that stuff. It's great. So they're just doing a little kind of like in between the cello and the violins, like, hello, here I am. So I like to do this when a new thing is coming in, like the French horns here. So you just have this little swell before, so it doesn't sound as if they're just coming in. So it's just kind of hinting, something's coming, and then it comes in. We got some trumpets. They wouldn't be hired if that was the audition. I mean, look at that. I even didn't see that. Missed that. But yeah, that's how it goes when you play it live and then you play it back with full orchestra. It's like, yeah, that sounded good. But that's nice. Sample modeling, I'm not even using a key switch on that. It's just how they sound naturally when you just play them short. Sounds very realistic to me, even though. Yeah, you can still hear that they sound really good, even though they're very poorly recorded there. So yeah, honestly, I don't know what else to mention here. Let's just keep going. New strings, melody coming in. Oh yeah, we can just see I'm spending a lot of time here again, I suppose, with this little line here. Something that you just see like this and you're like, yeah, you can do that in a few seconds. I guess you could. But when I'm doing it, it's like, oh my God, it still doesn't sound perfect. It doesn't sound perfect. And then finally, oh, thank you. Now it sounded good. So I'm spending a lot of time with the mod wheel there. Let's see, anything brass-wise? I don't know. It's just basically how I write. It's like you have this, I don't know how to explain it. Yeah, it's a filmic thing. It's a wave kind of shape where I felt like here it's kind of soft and nice. Let's just kind of quickly throw in something here to just kind of shake you up. And then we're bringing it down again. So it's very dynamic, very, very dynamic, up and down. And just hints in the strings here of the theme, which, it's just part of that theme, which is the or wherever it is. That. So we have that little thing. But in a different shape, there's different feeling in this part. And so we're just kind of hinting it, and then moving on, going down again softly here. And then we're going to build it up again. Let's just move on. I don't know if I can much to mention here. Just, yeah, they're doing what they're doing. We have this next part, which is a build-up part. Something sounded a little bit off there with the strings. But it almost has this kind of, I don't know, Disney-like quality building up there. And let's see his strings here. A lot of melody movements, the counter lines, things going on. It's just a lot of fun to do when playing around like that. I think maybe are these doing the same thing? So the cello and the strings, and then yeah, similar, and then a couple of other things to counter that. But basically, this package feels really complete like this. Just kind of accenting, not accenting, but like coming in dynamically with the brass. That little thing, without the trumpets, it's just. So it's just kind of seeing where the arc is, or the arch, how you say that. And it just feels like this is a high point here with the trumpets coming in. And that's always nice, to leading up. To a little swelly thing here, and then hitting that chord. That's a little bit tension, and then leading into the theme again. Right there. And now we're home again. So it keeps going. This is the same as the intro. Brass is doing the thing here. Oh yeah, bassoons, but that's also from the old East-West, so basically not very inspired with that. Probably just played chords all through the track. Yeah. Just 3 bassoons. Mostly just to fatten the production up a little bit. I felt maybe they're blending well with the trombones. But now that I have Berlin woodwinds, I'm excited to play around some more. What else do we have here? Okay, so this kind of goes that way, and then it leads into the final. Really love not trying to end a track on this perfect, beautiful scenario, because it could have been, we take away the French horns doing that tension and then ending on the major 7 there. which isn't so much tension really when you think about it, but the way it comes is just, for me. I really like how it's, without him, it's basically sure, it's big and grandiose still, but just like it when it's more. Oh man, just that. Love that. And then of course going up to the major 7. Let's see a little bit with trumpets here again. It's sorry, I meant from where it's. Let's see the brass here. Let's see if we can hear that. A little bit of fanfare feeling there, trombones. It sounds kind of funny by itself, but it works together with everything else. Kind of sounds a little funny without the root there. I think these are just, I'm not even using staccatos or anything, it's just basic legato, I'm hitting it harder. Then again, we got a little bit of a variation again with a, that. So the melody, here we're just hinting at that with in the end. Absolutely not perfectly played there, as you could hear, but that's one of those things. When it's in the background, it's just some sort of movement you hear there on the left, and you can still hint that it's that from that theme, but it doesn't have to be perfectly played. Not for me anyway, when it's in the back. So those things are going on there. We already know, probably not doing that much. Okay, so we just have that repeating. Oh, not even that tight. But yeah, I'm very excited to have some new woodwinds. Yeah, I don't know really what else is in this track. And then it ends. We have that French horn thing. But yeah, I really like the French horns from Hollywood there. Especially EQing a little bit, and not that much, just cutting away, boosting a little bit here on the high from 8. Okay, and OTT, of course. You can use and abuse OTT, which is this great multipressor by X4 Audio. I've talked a lot about that. X4 Records, I mean. It just helps things cut through. So with that, so use it wisely. You can of course overdo it, then the production will be too squashed. But definitely recommend it. X4 Records, it's a freebie. Not sure if there's more to cover. Harp things, timpani, of course, it's the same effect. Using it to add in transitions. I use it a lot. Same with the harp, as I said, glockenspiel and triangle for a little bit of texture there. Cymbal rolls, piatti, same thing, comes in, crashing on the bigger parts. Trombones is the same sample modeling. It was probably just doubling the trailer brass here. That's the yeah, but they're great since you can really nice to have that, and then of course wrapping it completely around in the reverb. Yeah, as I said, I'm just kind of thinking of things to say here. I don't want to repeat myself or make it too long or boring, but it's pretty much what I did with this. It's big sweeping, got some nice arpeggios there, and the woodwinds, brass kind of doing his thing, very big, going over to this next part where I had almost that Stargate thing, as I said. Of course, this could be a way more in-depth thing where I'm talking compositionally, how I'm thinking and how I move from chord to chord. But that's going to have to be another video, and another thing to talk, and just a completely different, just in-depth, like I said. I don't feel like I'm just going to throw myself in that right now. This is more of an overview of this track. Because that's also just comes from experience, You're just writing and exploring things, and all of a sudden you get used to a new chords you're using in your little toolbox, whatever you call it. And then, you throw in that and that. Because my background is way more using my ear. So my knowledge these things is way more of just things I've learned from just playing. And then, of course, I can still see it, visually also in my head. Like, what am I actually doing here? What is this chord? So, I speak the language. It's just, that's definitely my weaker side of the transcribing, the looking at the score and all that. And it's more just by ear. But I still, of course, know what's going on here, and I know what the instruments should be, what I want them to do, and what registers they are more comfortable in. So that's just from experience. And of course, as I said, I can talk a lot about that, but not for this overview. Brass, this here and there. I'm not sure I can mention so much else right now. So I hope you learned something from how I did this track. All right. I think I'm just gonna say bye for now. I'm hoping there isn't something I missed about it. I don't think there is. One last time. Let me think here. The rest is. Yeah, pretty much. That's how it is when we compose. Things just happen. It's like you try to ask a composer to explain what's really going on here, and it's just, for any of us, it's just like, I don't know, it's just something that happened in the moment, and I wanted to go to this part, and I wanted to do this. But yeah, what you definitely can take away from this is the way I use my mod wheel and the legatos, constantly making them breathe, as how a normal violinist would play it, or here in cellos. Same with the brass. Really just gotta push them up and down and up, make it feel nice and natural. And yeah. All right. I'm going to end it here. Till next time, take care, everyone.